Today I'm going to do a quick fit check of the filters that came with this black Dentec respirator. The reason I'm doing that is because the filters, at least one of them, did not come seated correctly, or so it appears, and I want to see if that's going to affect how well it filters. So I've put them on this older mask I have that fits well and has a port in it so we can test. This zero filter shows that there's no leakage in the tubing because we're getting zero particles. I'll go ahead and take it off. And as soon as it gets a sample through there, we're going to see that there are particles in the room. Now we'll just go ahead and add the port onto the mask. There we go. And now for the not too exciting part. All right. So we're going to watch those particles go down so we can see that it is doing something, but how much is it doing? Now I'm running an N100 test, which is not how you normally test N95 filters, so it shouldn't normally pass an N or a P100 test because they can leak up to 5% by the N95 standard. So now that we've emptied out the dead space, let's go ahead and change it to fit test and start a 60-second test. Okay, that is way below what is acceptable. Was not expecting 12. It's still not as good as my N95 filtering face pieces, not as good as I expected this to be. I'm going to do the same test again. This time we're going to do heavy breathing. Okay, so it did about the same. So now to try and tell whether the cartridge I tested here is the problem, I'm going to put a P100 cartridge on the other side to isolate it. Okay. Okay, we've blown out the dead space. Let's do a test. Okay, now let's test the other filter. So I've labeled that one 3A. We're going to put 3B, 3B on. So I think that pretty conclusively shows us that the cartridge that isn't fitted correctly is the reason for the low score. Now I'm going to put on another P100 filter so we can verify that this mask fits correctly and is sealed properly and that leakage of the mask is not in play. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to do it all over again just to make sure. This is the one that seems to be fitted correctly. Okay, that's actually a very good score for an N95 being tested with a P100 filter tester. So ignore the fail part because it actually is testing very well. And now we're going to try the one that has the problem. So we're going to put this one on. Okay. Okay, that's definitely not performing as well as the filter that's properly seated. And if we just go ahead and divide that out, so that is a leakage of 7.7, which is above what we'd expect for allowing 5% through the filter material, through the N95 standard. Considering that my test with the P100s is excellent, that's not a leakage problem around the mask, it has to be going through this gap in the filter material. And we know that because this one tests much higher, therefore this one is leaking. It's not the filter media, it's the way it's seated. And I think that's because of the design of the cartridge. You can't backlight check these cartridges. Let's see. So these are some of my old white cartridges. And you can look at them and you can see where there's gaps. For instance, there seems to be a gap there. I reseated these before I used it because of the problem I discovered earlier, but it looks like it's worked its way through just from normal breathing. Whereas these appear to be properly seated. But this, although we can see it here, we can't check it with a backlight. So it's not inspectable the way the others are, which is a problem. Also notice how apparently through breathing it has inflated all the way up to the top, leading me to suspect it's not seated around the edges or here either. That should not be there. I think this is a problem, and that this cartridge needs to be redesigned.